All right, welcome to Team Futurism. My name is Peter Clark, and I'm here with Devin Carson. We're going to be trying something a little bit new today, not that revolutionary necessarily, but we're going to be going through some news stories that are tech related or futurist related. And I mean, mostly we want to talk about like what are we excited about today? Like what are we seeing in the news that we're excited about or maybe freaked out about, but just like generally interested in.
Yeah.
And how should we kick it off, Devin? Do you want to do the first story?
Pete, I'd love to do the first story. I've got four stories today. Three of them are very tech related and have futurist and tech implications. But the first story I'd like to kick off with today is something that's been in the news really heavy this last week. And we've got a couple of breaking developments today, which is the Texas gerrymander. So I think that it's pretty straightforward. I don't know that how much explanation needs to happen, but basically, Texas
We
House of
love gerrymandering.
that.
It is the best thing. I actually do want to talk about this. This is good. I want to you get your
I
thoughts.
I love a good gerrymander. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? Um, this is like pretty dastardly business, and pretty pathetic capitulation to the kind of Trump to the Trump superstructure. But just broad overview. Obviously, redistricting happens once every 10 years based on census results, and the Texas legislature is trying to call a special session right now to redistrict parts of the state to gain Republican seats in the House of Representatives nationally. And I think the reason why this has made it into a national news story is we've got three legislators from Texas, John Busey and Johnson and James Tallarico. I want to say, by the way, James Tallarico, wow, what a very well presented young man. I really liked his energy. And the three of them gave an interview on CBS that I thought was really, really well structured, very point for point, and just very presidential and inspiring. I think that they were all really it felt like a weirdly patriotic interview. And so basically in the Texas House, obviously to vote on anything they need quorum, so everybody needs to be there. And these three legislatures have taken off from Texas and are not there, so they're breaking quorum as a way to protest functionally this redistricting effort by the Texas House. Yeah, I mean, the only real anecdote that I have on this comes from Tellerico, which is they've had, I think, 5, 6 sessions on this redistricting, 2 on the flood. So I think it's pretty, pretty gross.
Mhm.
And it also is something where it's ringing my alarm bells, where there's a lot of things that Trump does that just feel kind of flaily, that just kind of people are like, he's a threat to democracy. I'm like, well, you got to be pretty tactical to be a threat to democracy. It's a pretty big thing here. It's very bureaucratic. It's hard to like get in and reconfigure the system in a meaningful way. Redistricting and forcing states to redistrict outside of the normal 10-year cycle is one of those things that is a democratic disruptor that I think we should all be paying attention to. Uh,
I did actually see that. I think this is true that Trump was straight up like, "Hey, get me
I need 5.
I need 5." Yeah. And
Yeah,
that was a directive. And so
yeah,
they're explicitly drawing these lines in order to get him 5 new seats.
that's right.
And have you seen California's response to this? Because it's kind of fascinating.
I have. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
So Gavin Newsom is like, fine, we're gonna play ball. We're
Yeah,
gonna get ourselves 5 new seats just to
right,
match you because we can play this game too. Like, hello, like this is not a new game,
right.
and we all know it's yours. Democrats, I think, maybe this is my partisan, hackery over here, but I think Democrats do actually have the high ground here because multiple times Democrats are like nationally, federally, let's be done with this shit.
Yeah,
And Gavin Newsom says this too, like nonstop. I don't want to do this. I don't like
yes,
this. It's gross. It's terrible. We
yeah,
need a federal mandate that we are not doing any gerrymandering anymore, full stop, unless have AI draw the maps or whatever.
right.
I've never seen Republicans say that. And I don't think I know that
Acting
like
rule, right?
yeah. Yeah, Republicans seem just in general more comfortable with doing the gerrymandering thing because they know that like Democrats own the cities or control the cities
Right.
and they want like a piece of that pie.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's so gross. And I actually kind of like hope that in the future my optimism is that the future generations will look back on all of this, all these shenanigans, and be like, I can't believe they did this. That is so gross
Yeah.
for like undermining democracy and like the person's vote, etc. So that's my hope for the future. And maybe, once all the old dogs leave politics, maybe that's something that millennials can take up as like a major project that would actually be great for our country.
I think it is, and I just to put a pin on it. These are counties. This is Austin, Travis, and Houston, right? So these are they're trying to take chunks out of counties that are meaningfully blue in
Yeah.
Texas. And the last thing I'll say is that Ann Johnson and James Tallarico, what are you doing at the state level? Yeah, we need you in national politics. Like, I really can't recommend highly enough for anybody to go watch that CBS interview.
I
And
haven't seen it. I'll go check it out.
it's
I'll go
so
check it
good and
out.
it's so hard
Nice.
to, maybe we can link it somewhere. But it is so good. It is so moving. It will get you emotionally engaged. And these people really do not need to be in state level politics. We need these people in national government. That's me on Texas gerrymander. Kicking it to you, Pete. What do you got today?
Okay, well, I just want to talk about the updates to AI that dropped this week. All this
Great.
is very fascinating. I mean, one is that ChatGPT-5 dropped,
That's right.
and this is kind of like big news. And part of the big news associated with this is that like now it can just do like very much harder tasks.
Mm,
And Sam Altman described this in terms of like, ChatGPT has always been able to do tasks that would take a human brain, like a smart person, like a couple minutes to do, maybe a couple of hours. But now we're in the realm of like it would take a college professor 1,000 hours to do this like very hard task.
wow.
And ChatGPT is now like starting to conquer those tasks. So that's not insignificant. And of course, would not take 1,000 hours to do that sort of a thing. So that's like the big game changing leap. Apparently, it also is just much better at natural language and it doesn't feel quite so clunky when it's writing,
Mm,
which I mean, I think it's like ChatGPT 4 was great at that too, but apparently it's even much better. I've used it a little bit. I haven't, don't have any strong feelings on it myself yet, but I listened to an interview with Sam Altman yesterday when he was on the Huge if True channel,
I
and
thought,
he had this quote that I thought was just so interesting. Let me read you this quote, and then I want to give like why this stuck out to me. So his quote was, "I think as a user of ChatGPT, you get the feeling that it's trying to help you. It's trying to help you accomplish whatever you ask. It's not trying to get you to use it all day. It's not trying to get you to buy something. It's trying to help you accomplish whatever your goals are." What stuck out to me there is this like everything online is constantly trying to get you to use it more and to get
right,
you to buy something
right.
everywhere. Like any
Yeah.
social media, any Google search, it's all just organized around getting you to buy shit or to like game you into doing this more. And that actually made me really think about ChatGPT in a different light. I know this is like probably kind of like brain dead obvious, but to me, I'd never quite thought about it like this. Like I appreciate that. He was asked like, what could you do if you wanted to get people using ChatGPT more? And Sam Altman said, I hear that sex bots are quite popular. And it's like, ChatGPT has never had like a sex bot type of thing. And they obviously could. So, but if you think about it, like they're like super brilliant people. If they wanted to, they could game that shit so that you don't just hop on there to ask a question, then you hop off, that you like get sucked into it, right? So I appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. Um, and then I have one more update related to AI,
Yeah.
which is
By the way, did you see that today 5 is getting absolutely panned? It's like
I did see a little bit of this, but
so
okay.
much that Altman went on today to promise that 4 would still be available to stay subscribed to 4. You do not have to upgrade, and they will keep 4 live as long as there's a sufficient user base for it, because 5 is getting broadly panned in the press.
I did see a little bit of that. I think that like when new shit rolls out, it tends to be a little bit clunky. So I think that
Yeah.
people go out searching for the weak points. I don't know. I honestly don't know how meaningful that is. I haven't had too much of a chance to like really poke at it myself. But yeah, I did see that. I think that's interesting. I also think at this point that stuff's kind of like expected,
Sure.
because like the story is going to be this amazing new technology. It doesn't work. This is like the Wi-Fi on the plane. Like I just got Wi-Fi on the plane. This is
Yeah.
incredible technology.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's slow. I'm gonna write essays about how this new amazing technology sucks. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I'm not. I don't know what to make of it yet, but yeah, I did see
yeah.
some of that. The next thing that is related is so Google's DeepMind released Genie 3, which is a world building video game technology. Maybe I can just like throw some of these clips up on the screen that I've seen pop up for me. Have you seen any of these by any chance?
I haven't. I hadn't heard. I hadn't heard this one yet.
Okay, let me pop up on the screen little video clip. So this is just like text based. You just like say, hey, build me this little world, like a couple of descriptions, and then like check out what you get. Like it is to me a little mind boggling that we've gone from like shitty pixelated images to this. All right, so
Okay. We've finally achieved N64 level rendering. No, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. This looks like a few generations back of Unreal Engine.
let me do one more.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's certainly not Blender level, right? Okay, well this is a lot closer to Blender level.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of these, and they're so varied. Like it is
Sure.
pretty incredible. I think. My anecdote here is that it is kind of engaging too. Like you can't just kind of like watch this. It's kind of
Yeah.
it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Come back in 15 minutes, guys. We're busy.
yeah. uh, but I remember when I first moved to the Bay Area. I don't know what year it was, 2010 ish. One of my roommates at the time was this guy who was working for one of these like video game companies, and he would come home and I was like, hey, what you been up to today? He's like, oh, I spent all day like working on a lamp, like designing a lamp for a room in a video
Right.
game.
Right.
Think about how far we have come from that. Like a very smart dude slaving away at a desk for 8 hours a day to build a fucking lamp.
Yeah.
in like one little shitty video game, and now like any idiot can like type into Google or Genie 3, build me this world, and like forget lamps, it's got like everything. It's crazy. So we have come so far in this. I spend so much more time just like on the text-based ChatGPT that I actually sometimes forget about like the video shit
Yeah.
that's developing, and it's
Right.
crazy. Like it's super cool, and this is like absolutely going to disrupt video game industry, movie industry, etc. So like, yeah, things are moving super fast. It's crazy.
Absolutely, man. Honestly, I wanted to hold off on. I wanted to bring this story a little bit later in the segment, but it dovetails so perfectly with this because what data do you think that model was trained on? And that brings us to Disney suing Midjourney. So
Oh, I haven't seen this. Okay.
yeah, so we've got our first real, I think, heavy duty lawsuit coming from a major production house to an AI company. And it's so interesting to be strange bedfellows with Disney as a creative, right? Because I find my personal motives as a creator to be maybe diametrically opposed to entities like Disney or other large production houses. However, the the ability of an individual creator to sue for rights to their work to not have I trained on it is so limited. But now, and I didn't see this coming, but this completely makes sense to me, that Midjourney is crawling everything, right? And there is probably no guardrail on it because there's no legal framework for that. And Disney is setting precedent right now by suing Midjourney for they're coming after them for using their characters, for using their designs, and for, I mean, how granular are we going to get with this? Maybe the shape of line that Disney is, pioneered, or what have you. So that's, I think, a really interesting kind of wrinkle in the video space right now.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how these lawsuits turn out. I'm not familiar with this one yet, but I'll have to check it out. But our IP law is relatively ancient. The
Yeah,
people who developed the judges who developed the case law and the senators who like at some levels legislated around this, man, they were not thinking about AI. They were not thinking about it. So we are like applying the rules that were developed when we were like developing comic book movies, you know what I
right,
mean? Or in pre that. And we're
right,
slapping that same logic, those same ideas and concepts onto this new world. And
right.
it does map on, but not in a way that makes anybody happy is kind of like my sense at this point. So like creators aren't happy, the big corporations aren't happy. Like so far nobody's happy and nobody is like situated to be happy in the long run. Everyone's fucked at some level, right? So I'm curious. I'm very curious.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see how this plays out. I love the idea. I love that we live in a society that has a precedent-based legal system, because it does open up another avenue for regulating businesses like these new AI companies, right? Where I don't know. I think in a lot of societies, it's a little bit harder to get movement like that unless it's strictly like national governmental movement. But we're lucky to live in a country that has a precedent based legal system where, even though we're in a fucking gerontocracy with all of these old people who probably have no idea any of this stuff is coming down the pike, uh, that we actually have the ability to affect meaningful change. The only thing that sucks is that we also live in a corporatocracy where the only people that can actually apply sufficient pressure to change are these big businesses. So I think that's interesting, and I'll be kind of tracking that over the next couple weeks and months. And like, I'm rooting for you, Disney. Fuck these AI companies, man. Like, we really can't afford to have our IP compromised by somebody like Sam Altman, or some single entity that feels like they have a moralistic drive to solve a problem that nobody's asking to have solved.
Well, but maybe. I mean, this is I'm on the opposite side of this just instinctually
Great.
because I mean, I just think that like the AI companies, what they're doing is not dissimilar from what artists have just always done. This is the argument anyway, right? That when you're an artist, you spend 30 years of your life consuming art, taking as much data in as possible, and then you're referencing all of that when you create something new. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what ChatGPT and these other platforms do. The thing that's sketchy to me, and the thing that's like, oh, lawsuit, is like when you go into ChatGPT and you say, like, write this chapter of my book in the voice of Kara Swisher. And
Sure.
then, I mean, then like that's different, I think, because it probably at some level is effectively doing some sort of like plagiarism-esque thing. But that's also tricky too, because plagiarism has a legal definition, right? And like
Right.
it's not doing plagiarism, it is something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when I read a book, when I read a novel, I very often kind of like know the voice I want to hit. And so I've done this with like George Saunders with a previous novel of mine. I just like for a couple months, I just read George Saunders to like get his voice in my head. And
Badass.
then I would channel that in this book because I had like that was the vision that I wanted to accomplish.
Plug the book.
That is what that was actually my book of short stories. It's called Before the Giant Anteater. And you can check that out.
Where can find it, Pete?
Find it on Amazon. Jeff Bezos is hawking that shit. It's all
Nice.
over. Yeah. So that is what it's done. This is what's so weird about it, dude. Because like the one level of framing it is, oh my God, AI companies are just like stealing everyone's IP and like just utilizing all of it. And it's just gross and it's thievery and it's blatant. The other side of it is like, ChatGPT is parallel to like a human mind, and this is like what you can't go through the world without doing this as a human mind, especially if you're going to be like a creative person. And so we have to
Truly.
like judges are going to have to make this decision, like
Yeah.
which analogy is it not even true one? Which analogy we're just going to like arbitrarily go with, and the arbitrariness is going to like lean on who do we want to not fuck over the most, because everyone gets fucked over here, right? Like everybody, but like who do we want to fuck over slightly less? And I don't know, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
And it is going to come to a Citizens United style, funnel point where we're going to have to decide what human rights we give to these algorithms, to these people, to these AI programs, to these AI companies. The corporations themselves are already treated as individuals in our society, but what about their products? I mean, I think we're going to have to make some very black and white decisions about what human rights we give these algorithms, right? Because the right to crawl our data and to synthesize things, that's a human. It's like you're exactly right. It's every time humans make art, we do that, but these aren't humans, and I don't know that they need the same protections, rights, or like intellectual framework that we so generously give to people.
Yeah, that's what in my mind, it is just arbitrary, right? Because someone's just gonna be like, yeah, but it's not a person. Yeah, but kind of it is. Here's the different, like who the fuck knows?
Yeah. I stole the next story. Give me what do you got for us, Pete? You got another one coming down the pipe. I got a big one at the end.
Okay.
I got a big reveal, a big
Oh, okay.
at
Nice.
the very end, but I'm saving it. It's related to this, but I want to hear what's your next story for us, Pete?
Okay, so I'm gonna do a hard pivot here.
Great.
And this was a story that I'm very fascinated by because, okay, so this is in Nature, and Nature doesn't publish bullshit for the most part. So I don't take Alzheimer's research that seriously because a lot of it has just been like going down the wrong tunnel and coming up with nothing, false promises.
The amyloid plaque, like amyloid plaque gate.
That's actually the perfect way to put it. Exactly. I think people are aware of that, so I won't belabor the point on there.
Sure.
But so this is apparently, based on the study, using a lithium supplement can reverse memory loss in mice.
Okay.
And it's not just like it doesn't just stop memory loss. Apparently, it can actually show signs of reversing it, which is fascinating. And we've been using lithium in studies for a while, apparently, according to this article. The new revelation here is that they're using significantly less, like a way smaller dose. And apparently that has the impact that is, I mean, so far, like looking really good. There is a possibility that this could lead to some sort of a cure, just based on the idea that it is possibly reversing some of the Alzheimer's symptoms.
Wow.
We don't know what to make of this yet. Again, I'm going to be like hardcore skeptical about this until this is replicated. We start doing human trials, that sort of thing. But I mean, like another thing that's interesting about this is lithium is like incredibly common. Like it's used for a lot of different mental disorders. This is not like a super rare treatment, and it's not like it doesn't have like crazy side effects. So if part of someone's treatment plan is you start developing Alzheimer's symptoms and then you just like take a little lithium pill, dude, easy and accessible and life-changing for possibly a lot of people.
I mean, that would be unbelievable, man. It's I think Alzheimer's and a lot of end of life diseases, disorders, dysfunctions are so multifactorial. And I think we're still having I mean, it's so funny to be talking about this on the heels of talking about, AI, where I think that a lot of this research is going to look very ham-fisted in 10 years, and we're going to be kind of like giggling that we were doing double blind placebo controlled studies when we could have just asked, when like at some point in the next 10 years the human body systemically will hopefully be fully modeled, right, in the way that we've sequenced the genome. But boy, this is such a huge problem in our society, and anybody that's had a friend or a family member with Alzheimer's knows how destructive it is. And the more we can, from a futurist angle, even from a partially transhumanist angle, like increasing health span is got to be such a high priority for our species right now, because our carrying capacity for, the last 20 years of life, I mean, we're going to be dealing with the billions or trillions of dollars in medical care that boomers and Gen Xers are going to need for our entire generation. We're going to be bearing the weight of their poor health decisions, of their,
Yeah.
and truly, like, society's lack of care and lack of knowledge in those generational kind of eras. Like, we're going to be paying the piper for that, probably for most of the rest of our lives. And anything that can have a breakthrough in end of life care, I think, would change the lives of millions of people in a super meaningful way. I really hope that this is actually, because, like, after the amyloid plaque, scandal, um, and all of the drugs that were developed from it, and all of the billions of dollars that were made in Alzheimer's treatment and care that were obviously falsified or based on, spurious results. Boy, we need some light. This is good. This is a nice little shaft of light through the clouds, I think, if it's working.
Yeah, I just want to highlight to your point. This is like a statistic that just freaks me out. That already a study found that the U.S. currently spends 477 billion a year on avoidable and unnecessary expenses related to mental health
Yeah,
inequalities, and this could rise to 1.3 trillion by 2040. So we're talking about like in the trillions of dollars
yeah,
for like anything related to mental health care, and like Alzheimer's is a big chunk of that expenditure. So yeah, I mean, this is like a serious thing that like if we could like have a cure for this and other forms of dementia, it would be a game changer for like our economy and like a lot of things.
right.
Yeah, I did just want to highlight this one quote here. This is from a neuroscientist that we only recently have the first disease-modifying drugs for Alzheimer's disease, but they only target one thing: the amyloid plaques. This approach targets all the major pathologies of concern in the disease. So this could be really big. This could be really huge. I'm gonna keep an eye on this. I'm not gonna like get too excited yet. It's just like infancy of the research here. But yeah, this is exciting. I am excited about this.
I'm really excited about that too, man. Let's I'm pulling for you, Pfizer, I guess.
I just maybe one anecdote is I just actually had my uncle just died of Alzheimer's 2 weeks
Oh,
ago. So that's partly why this has been on my mind. And he was
so
like that my crazy uncle, you know what I mean? He lived in Las Vegas and he would like gamble on the golf course. That's what he did like for his job for like multiple years. Total weirdo, like epic dude. And he ended up like selling his home in Vegas and like moving up next to my family in Port Angeles for a couple of years until like he got ran out of the community because he was too much of a nut job. He would like
yeah,
go to churches and then he would like try to get like high up in the church hierarchy or whatever, but then like too much scandal would erupt around him. And so he literally got like banned from all the churches in the whole town. Super epic, like great shit. But
rest,
when he was, yeah, his
rest in
last
power,
like,
King.
I know exactly. His last like 5 or 10 years of his life were squandered in Vegas with like hardcore Alzheimer's symptoms. And he would like always be trying to like run out of the nursing home and like escape, but it wouldn't know where he was. So like couldn't find a car, didn't know his name, the sort of thing.
Yeah,
Super tragic. And that's
yeah.
not how this dude should have like spent his last 5 or 10 years of his life. Didn't recognize his sons, you know what I mean? So really
Oh,
sad. So I have like a personal stake in like that. Just haven't seen my uncle go through that, and I have like other relatives who kind of low key are like on that path. So it's terrifying. But yeah, let me like cut it there, and I'll kick it back to you for the next story.
Pete, I got one story. I got a quick little anecdote, and then my kind of big point of the day that I'd like to make. My passing anecdote is this: is that Trump fires the unemployment statistician
Yes,
right at the
good
time
work, Trump.
when we really need to have good understanding of how jobs are moving in the United States.
Devin, they were giving us the wrong numbers. They were giving us the bad numbers. Trump's economy could not be failing like that.
You're right. And honestly, and he has been beating this hobby horse since his last presidential run. He has hated the Bureau of Unemployment, the statistician who's had their job for 13 fucking years, right? And like just couldn't come at a worse time. And I think it is tangentially AI related, futurist related, because we just really need to have a good sense of where jobs are going right now.
Can
And we
I?
afford to have a sycophant in that position at the moment, at this exact moment. It's just like maybe never been more important to understand how jobs are moving in the United States.
Can I give you my favorite note about this story? It's my
Yeah,
I just have to articulate it for anybody who may not have seen this angle.
please.
So the Trump administration cannot keep their story straight with this.
I know.
Trump is saying, "Oh, the numbers are fake, so we have to fire this person.
Right,
My job numbers are great, right? We're
right.
getting all kinds of new jobs." And then JD Vance and a lot of other people are in tandem. They're saying, "Oh yeah, look at this amazing new study or these amazing new like stats showing that all the white people have more jobs and all the jobs that were taken by the illegal immigrants they've been kicked out of the country, so that's why there's discrepancy." And it's like, okay, like which is it, guys? Is this a
Yeah.
good thing or is this a bad thing? You got to keep your story straight. You can't have both at the same time. So kind of amazing.
Unfortunately, we live in a moment where the Republican support of the Trump administration has absolutely flatlined at 90% and refuses to dip below it. So we're just living in a time where you can actually have two diametrically opposed opinions being spoken out of either side of your mouth straight to a person, and it just doesn't fucking matter, apparently. Bringing me to my final story of the day, and kind of my editorial piece, I would say, for this segment, which is this: Elon Musk has built the world's largest supercomputer complex outside of, oh, I don't have the town here, but 36 gas-powered turbines to power what should be the world's largest supercomputer. That at the same time that the center of the tech world is shifting back to San Francisco because we're moving away from social technology and into AI, which is going to be immediately defense technology. I mean, we know that, right? And that is going, and you can feel the vibe shift even in the city now. But here's my point, and here's the point that I perhaps will try to belabor on future episodes. Why are we letting private citizens develop infrastructure that really should be public? And I'm gonna liken it to something extreme, and you can tell me how you feel about this. How this comparison would we let a private citizen develop a nuclear weapon in their own spare time, in their own factory? Would we let a business owner develop a technology that is, we all are all recognizing, is the next stage of warfare in this, in the world that we live in, and probably in this country? And I keep thinking, like, people like Sam Altman and people like Elon Musk, we've identified these people as thoroughly disconnected from really kind of most types of normal reality. And that just is a function of fame, that's a function of wealth, but it's also a function of being like a weird, like spectrum, kind of nerd also. and and being siloed in a community of sycophants that are all really working towards, kind of an idealized set of goals. I really think that these technologies, and this is I think probably the hottest take I've had in a while as like a pretty libertarian person, um, we've got to nationalize this technology. I think we have to nationalize AI infrastructure, and I think we need to regulate and we need to legislate and regulate immediately. Like, this is like this is someone building a nuclear bomb in their bedroom, and we're
Yeah,
letting.
this is actually my thought, Devin. This is actually really like everyone alive today, us included, like everybody alive today, up until 5 minutes ago, we all grew up in a world where if you wanted to destroy the planet, you had to have a nuclear weapon, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, as a private citizen, you couldn't do that. And we also like don't allow private citizens to own a tank. Like even the most hardcore libertarians are like, they draw a line at some certain weapons, right? Everybody does.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we don't even have this conversation about AI,
Right.
and AI is the new nuclear weapon. Anybody
Correct.
who watches Black Mirror, like, just like hop into like a couple of those episodes, and you can see how this technology could lead to world-ending scenarios, like kind of rapidly too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, this is going to take like 5 years to develop a nuclear bomb. This is maybe just kind of like, oh, you flip this switch. This is one more thing about AI that's a little bit frightening, is that Sam Altman does do a pretty good job, and all these guys do a fairly somewhat good job for making it so that you can't look up how to, commit a mass murder, how to like build bioweapons in your garage. There's so many things that they could just like let you do, right? But they just kind of like they wall it off. But that means that there are people who have the non-walled off version.
Correct.
They
That's
have
right.
it.
That's
And so they could use this technology today, like already, to do those scenarios.
right.
And like, we're like, all of this too is like just a hair's breadth away from people being able to design like killer bee drones where like you get a couple 100,000 of them and it's just like it swarms a city and everyone dies. That is like a Black Mirror episode, right? A private citizen could almost low key do that. Like Elon Musk could probably do that. I know that China has developed those bees already. I'm sure that like Elon Musk and his technicians could develop that same thing.
Sure.
Do we want anybody, to your point, having the power to destroy a whole city?
Absolutely not.
Like we don't, but we don't think about it, right? So it's interesting.
It let me put it, let me give you the other kind of metaphor that I've got for this, which I think is illustrative. We are we are tiptoeing towards our first encounter with an alien species. I mean, that is just a fact. Once we get to recursive general intelligence, we will be interacting with something that is so functionally different from us that you could just think of it as somebody came here from another planet. I mean, it doesn't have to be from another planet to be sufficiently alien. Do we want Sam Altman or Elon Musk being the person that makes first contact? Man, fuck no. You know what I'm saying? I like this
I
is
actually don't know this. I have a little bit of an issue with this analogy just because I actually don't know if anyone, quote unquote, has first contact, because
it's
this quote
iterative.
unquote alien,
Yeah.
it what it does to have its knowledge of anything
Yeah.
is it has the whole entire world's worth of data, so it knows all of us. Like if it is that sort of like like an AGI, like a proper AGI, it can look out of your cell phone and know you personally. Like it has first contact with you the same moment it has first contact with Sam
Mm.
Altman. Assuming it's like true
Ex-
AGI, right? Like I mean,
ex-
maybe there is some like it's still in a box and it
yeah.
can't leave that box. It can't see your cell phone yet. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true AGI though. If it is still boxed in so that only one person can look in and talk to it, I don't know if that's like the scary thing necessarily. But I don't know. Aside from that, it's a
Yeah.
good point.
All kind of like and I guess it gets back to the main point, which is that all we can do is have kind of metaphorical constructs for what's happening in real life behind closed doors right now that is actually going to meaningfully and functionally affect the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years of human life, not just on this planet but in this nation. And like we don't allow any single person to have the control over the means of production of anything that affects our economy in a writ large, in a global sense, right? This is why we have the Fed, because we understand that money, monetary policy, is something that has an outsized effect on our lives, on our society, on our political systems, on our economy. So we've delegated that to a bit of a synod. I'm not happy about like the board of, the Fed, the board on the Fed. It's not obviously broad enough to represent any significant slice of American life. However, over all of the turmoil that we've been through over the last 6 years since the pandemic, we still have the most reliable currency on planet Earth. And that's because we've entrusted something that we understand to have a huge outsized influence on our society to not an individual, to a collective, to an organization to something else that can make independent decisions on how this moves forward. This is a yesterday problem. I think you guys are going to hear me say this a lot. This is a yesterday problem. Like, this is something we need to be like aggressively thinking about legislating, and in the hottest take, in the craziest personal version of my reality, this is a Waco situation, man. You know, like, you think these guys are going to give up control of these things that they've built? Like, we might have to take it.
If we can,
If
even,
we can, if
right?
we, which
I
we
mean, who
can,
knows?
which we can, right? I mean,
Not if you're all of your, like, you know, chip factories or whatever. Like, if you have a whole infrastructure, because it is like it's a hardware thing. If your infrastructure is like on the U.S. Virgin Islands or something like that, like, or I don't know, Zimbabwe. You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
sure,
what you gonna do? Like,
totally true.
and it could be like, I don't know. I guess the world would know if there's a place taking like all kinds of power. We would know that. But like,
Yeah,
could you stop it
just
if it's
like
in
your
Zimbabwe? You know.
computer in Lesotho. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you probably can't.
These guys, they would just take their operations, go to the moon at this point, Devin. So I don't know if they're going to be stopped. But I'm going to pivot
Please,
to a fun story. We're going to keep this lighthearted at the end for me. Uh,
thank
we
God.
did a little bit of world ending.
I've darkened our door so sufficiently.
Yeah.
Hey?
And I'm going to need your hot take. So put your hot take hat on.
I'm
I
cooking
don't
it.
know if I have a hot take on this one. I might have a bland generic take, but it's still fun story. So, do you know who Little Tay is? Do you know who this is?
Well, it sounds familiar, but I can't recall.
Okay, so no reason why you should know her. I didn't know who she was, but she's a Canadian like pop singer or something like this.
Okay.
Sure, she's amazing. So she launched her OnlyFans this week because she turned 18. So like on the day she turned 18, the day she made $1 million in 3 hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, good for her, right?
A
But
lot of patient creeps out there, huh?
exactly, that's the whole thing. Like, oh my god, all these like creepy dudes are like just waiting. Oh my god, like she's gonna turn. So it's interesting to me that there is a resurgence of the anti-porn movement,
Mm,
and these are people like in government who are like a part of this movement, and they're trying to like make it. So, I mean, I got mixed feelings about it. Like, my libertarian side is like, this is gross, but like my practical side is like, yeah, if you're under 18, you should probably verify yourself before you go on some certain website. I don't know. Like, clearly this is a problem. Like, underage porn is a massive problem online,
yeah.
right? This is like news to nobody. And
Yeah.
an organization like OnlyFans is just leaning into the idea that we want you as young as humanly possible, and then because that's like what the market wants, and so like the market is incentivized around effectively like pedophilia light or something like this. I don't know,
Totally.
but this is just like fodder for the anti-porn movement, because and this is like where the story is already led. Like, the moment this story dropped, so many people were calling for like ban OnlyFans, right? Give me your spiciest take on this. Like, one, is this a problem? And two, if it is a problem, or like in a world of problems, like, do we worry about doing anything about this?
Oh my God. This is crazy. It is crazy. I mean, I have so many different versions of takes on this, to be completely honest with you, because as a person that, considers myself a feminist, I think this is probably something I've wrapped my mind around kind of, successively as the waves of feminism have kind of like hit the shore in my life, because there is two waves of feminism that are pretty much diametrically opposed on this issue. Um, Gosh, the 18 thing is really tough. It is just an arbitrary line in the sand, and it's there. I think it's a great. I think it's, if anything, it's too young still, probably, to draw an arbitrary line in the sand, because honestly, like, sexual viability is something that people achieve at different ages, and if we're really thinking about, if what we're really trying to prevent is somebody abusing the power dynamic that they have, then it there should be also other ways to measure that. Like, it feels like an absolute last ditch kind of stop to prevent people, to give a legal framework for preventing pedophilia, when like the kind of modern implied intent of consent laws has more to do with power dynamic than it does with, I think, like statutory rape in the more kind of traditional sense. You've got,
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have so many thoughts. My head is spinning a little bit, but like I
yeah,
do kind of
yeah,
wonder at some certain level. I wonder if we are in slightly just a different world than where when you and I grew up, because supposedly we're on the street is like every single kid in high school is sharing nudes, and this is not even like a shocking thing. This is just part of life.
it makes sense.
So, one, I do believe tech companies could do something about this. They know about it. If they
Sure,
really cared to, they could do something about it. But like, they don't want to get involved. It's
100%.
complicated. They could
They
screw it up. They're
literally
also making money off of like any interaction that's going on online. So there's that. But like, yeah, I mean, I do wonder if we do just kind of like sort of low key live in a different world. And like a lot of these laws, this is where I'm like just arguing the other side. Maybe this is just for fun, but like a lot of these laws about like you turn 18 and then you can do pornography or whatever, like it is arbitrary, but like it's kind of not, in the sense that the government had an interest in not having underage pregnancies. Like it's
sure.
a massive drain on society
Yeah,
for teens to become pregnant.
sure.
Everybody suffers because of that, because we all got to pay for that kid to grow up now, right? Nobody's getting pregnant anymore. Like, if anything, there's not enough pregnancies. The birth rate for an American citizen woman is now like 1.6. Like, we're not, I don't even know. So maybe we have the opposite problem now. Maybe we want to encourage more like unnecessary pregnancies or something like that. I say that tongue in cheek, but like at some level, what, our population is just going to start declining in 50 years and we're just going to go away as a society. I mean, I don't know. Like,
I
this is
think,
obviously a small part of that, but like my devil's argument take is something in that world.
yeah, and interestingly, I think we do live in a different society. My partner and I were talking about this yesterday, where, when we were kids, there was a lot more of an energy, I think, from young women of like, oh boy, I just need a boyfriend, or like, or it was very kind of like, women, I think, were in a world where if a man was powerful, he could just leverage that to kind of force an outcome. Young women are pretty educated now, man, and I don't know
Yes.
if I felt that particular energy from a woman in an extraordinarily long time. And I'm sure it still exists in like rural places or something, but like, I think young women are pretty aware that they're in the catbird seat from probably as soon as they feel sexually viable, which is obviously far too young. If you listen to any woman talk about their experience as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year old. But I
Yep.
think that it's, we lived in a world where society precluded that type of power and information from young women. But we live in a free information space now, where I think almost all women are aware of the power that their sexuality commands from probably about the time that they're aware that they have it. And so
Well,
that,
let's I want to reframe it just a little bit, because this argument always just like wins in my mind. If we
yeah,
can send 18-year-olds to go hold a gun and
yeah,
kill people and get
yeah,
killed, there's
yeah,
no reason why a girl in her bedroom can't take her clothes off and take pictures of herself. I mean, like, are we fucking kidding ourselves? This
yeah.
is like, the parallel isn't, oh, danger into society. The parallel is like, this is kind of like an extreme sport, or like an art form that's like a mildly edgy, right?
Yeah.
Because
It
what,
does.
like,
It
I would rather have my family member do OnlyFans than do
does.
skydiving as a hobby,
Yeah.
right?
Or
Like
football.
any day of the week, if someone who's in my family to have the choice, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take up a skydive and do that on the weekends, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
like post nude pictures of myself on my website. I know that bad things can happen based on it, but like, you're not gonna fucking die, Jesus,
It
you know
is
what I mean?
funny too
Or
that
like skiing is
this
incredibly dangerous, right? Like, so many things in society are like, you could die, or we're
100.
like, oh God, don't take your clothes off, you know?
It's so crazy too that like we still, this is such like a weed and cocaine are on the same schedule federally type issue, where
Yes. Yeah.
you think about like we still look at women's purity as a physical like threat, right? Like we're like, oh, but she's defiled herself, and that's going to do this like meaningful amount of harm to her, like reputationally, which we still
Unless she becomes famous and makes $1 million in 3 hours, and then we're like,
right.
oh, okay, never mind.
Right, you know, which is like, and I guess like as a society we still are like in this propaganda state of being like, well, if she doesn't have her reputation, then what does she have? You know, and it's like, well, pretty much everything else, you know, like we just don't think of women and men in the same dimension in this way, because obviously if this was a boy, this would not be a story, right?
You know what I want, Devin? Okay, this is something that I want for technology to do. I can't summon an argument that's going to convince me that we should make it so that 18-year-olds can't do OnlyFans. I just am not able to summon that argument. Or if I
Neither.
could, I don't think I'd really truly be able to believe it. But I do think we should live in a world where if someone does this and a year later they regret it, they should be able to scrub the internet of that content. And it shouldn't be out there forever. And this is something that tech companies could do,
Sure.
and they choose not to, right? Like it's a choice that they make, that they don't make that power available. I used to work for this company. My first job in Silicon Valley was with this company, reputation.com. And this was part of like what they did is they help people rehabilitate their online reputations. So there are like private companies that will help you out with that, but you have to like kind of low key pay
Right.
a decent amount of money. And who knows how even, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if they do the proper job of really scrubbing the internet anymore. You know what I mean? The internet is so
Or
robust.
even
There's so
could,
many corners to it.
yeah, or even could you now, right? With like internet time machine,
Yeah. I haven't
right?
followed up on like that industry, but yeah, I'm a little skeptical that that it's actually as robust as it pretends to be. But yeah, that's what I want. That's why I want anybody to be able, like, we have friends. I'm sure applies to you too, who like put rock albums out there online and then decided I didn't cook that one enough, and so they take it back. And like I've looked for some of my friends' like old shit, and it's gone. You
On.
cannot fucking find it. It should just be that way for online, youthful adventures in porn as well.
I think that's a very sweet way to think about it. And I also think about this. Like, we love as a society to normalize whatever the most recent thing is. And so, what's interesting to me is that we've so thoroughly normalized porn in its kind of like native form, where women are just getting like beat up and shit, that
I've
like
never my entire adult life seen porn like that. By the way, for the record, I'm sure it's completely out there. I've never watched it ever.
I,
So like you sickos who are out there watching that shit, like you get a fucking new
you
hobby.
guys
Like
are
there's plenty of beautiful, nice,
you're
aesthetic,
paid.
great porn out there.
I can't believe that
People
type
always
of.
say that on podcasts, like, oh, women are all just getting beat up. It's like, what the fuck are you watching? Like, change the channel. What the fuck? Like,
I mean,
there's like 100 gazillion thousands of hours of porn that's not that. Like, choose a fucking lane. Yeah.
that's true.
I'm getting too caffeinated, Devin. I'm just gonna start screaming now.
But I think one of the things that might, to kind of land the plane for my point is that, yeah, these women are safe, right? Like, they're safe. They're physically safe. They're alone. They're alone in a room interfacing with their own sexuality. And maybe, does it open them up to risks of stalking? Does it open them up to risks of like reputational damage? Yes, yes, yes. Of course. They're not being, this is all like personal, consensual, recursive behavior that is like self-referential. Like, they're bringing other people into it as they choose. It's not part of like a massive, superstructure of powerful men that are manipulating. This is like this.
Unless your boyfriend's name is Andrew Tate. If your boyfriend's name is Andrew Tate,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe
And look, there
maybe get
is
the fuck out of there. But yeah,
there's women all over the world that are being trafficked, right? And
yes,
surely
it's
it's
a real thing. Yeah.
scam websites and all of that stuff. However, I think that the lion's share of my experience on OnlyFans, that's right, I've been there. Is that it's a lot of consensual women doing stuff to themselves, for themselves, making money from it, or sometimes not, and they're safe. And we now live in a world where women are able to safely interface with sexuality, and that just wasn't the world we lived in 20 years ago. Like there just wasn't a venue in society for women to interface with sexuality publicly without opening themselves up to being raped. And
Yeah, maybe my last note here
yeah,
is back in the day when you and I were, let's say in high school or whatever, the big thing was that girls and guys would have like a live journal and they would
yeah,
spill their soul on those things.
true.
And it would be all like family drama and all this like naming names, you know what I mean? And there's almost a world where that's kind of I would rather not have that than just like a naked picture online. I mean, me personally, no one's seen me naked, so that's but if I were to put myself in these shoes, like burying your soul is a little bit different from just like showing a little skin that everyone
Yeah,
apparently is like just it's so normalized. I don't think like burying your soul ever was or ever could be normalized about like these are my problems and I don't
yeah.
know that to me is way more like I would have regrets about that for sure. I don't
And
know.
Peter,
Mm.
in 10 years, when AI has created the most unbelievably compelling pornography you've
Oh, this
ever,
is all gone anyway.
like
Yeah.
nobody want to
No one's
see
doing it.
disgusting human body.
Exactly. No one like enjoy now, people, because like it's all
Yeah,
gonna be AI just pixels pretty
that's
soon here.
right.
All right,
uh,
man. That's all I got. I might have to run. It's like 100 degrees in my garage right now. And I'm sitting here sweating, screaming. It's been
guys,
fun. Been good.
makes it to the end. Let us know how this came off. This felt great for me. I like the idea of keeping folks updated on the news. The longer we do this, Pete, the more I realize that we're in a very small percentile of folks that are kind of aware of the broader implications and some of the breaking news that's happening around tech, AI, and oftentimes politics. So this is a segment that I'm really hoping that we can chew into at least once a week. If this provided you some meaningful entertainment or information, like hit us a like, subscribe, comment, please. We really this was great for me, and I think we were able to bring some attention to some things that are important to both of us and should be important to all of you.
Yeah, I will say, as a podcast called Team Futurism, we have done fairly like mid job on actually like discussing breaking tech. So I think that
True.
we'll try to do this as a recurring segment where we do bring up more tech stories, and
Yes.
especially as they're coming at us more and more.
And
So,
update, and keeping us updated, like the Mid-Journey Disney lawsuit. That's something that I'm going to want to touch on. The Elon Musk supercomputer. We're going to keep you guys updated as the news is breaking on things that we think you should be aware of. And there's some things that you got to stay tapped into. So, we'll see you on the next one.
all right, yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys.